In 3, 2, 1, and we're live. Well, we should be live. Welcome to Digital Asset News. Take the top stories in cryptocurrency and digital assets and try our best to break them down into bite-sized pieces. So today, I've got my friend Nick Mancini. He is here. He is the Chief Communication Officer for Trade the Chain, and he is an up and comer. Hold on real quick. Well, we should be live. Well, there we go. Up and comer in the crypto community. Nick, I think you were just featured on like Forbes or something like that.
Yeah, been fortunate enough to be featured in Forbes almost weekly for the past, I'd say 2 or 3 months now. So it's been very nice.
Everybody wants Nick to come on their show, and that's why I got him on the show today. So we're just going to go over a couple of quick topics. Actually, it's not real quick. I mean, there's a lot of things going on, right? But I thought this was interesting, and I know everybody has been talking about this ad nauseum about Marc Cuban and the DeFi story and everything else. But I just think there's just a couple of points I wanted to go over because people keep saying it's a rug pull, And I want to make a distinction about what went on as far as like what a rug pull is, and I think what happened. And Nick's got a pretty interesting theory about what happened to Marc. So let's break into it, shall we? So here we go. Let me pull this stuff up.
And what is the nickname people are giving this quote unquote crisis? I believe it is the Cuban Missile Crisis. I've heard it called on CNBC even. So it's pretty much well defined at this point that it is the Cuban Missile Crisis.
It's pretty good. I can't wait to use that. See things. As a clone. There's no clone. Now we're good. And then Rob, aside from ADA and Theta, what are you yielding and staking? I'll get to that maybe later. And then it's also Shiba Inu just got listed on Voyager. So congratulations to Shiba Inu holders.
And Coinbase, I believe yesterday or the day before perhaps. So this week.
Yeah, my friend George was bragging all day long, which good for him. Good for him. So we're going to go over the Marc Cuban story. Then I want to talk real quickly about Cardano's Yoroi wallet. It's going to soon enable users to interact with dApps like Ethereum's MetaMask. So essentially you're going to have a MetaMask in your browser and potentially you're going to have the Cardano Yoroi wallet, which will be interesting. And then also to get into everybody's favorite topic, politics, Republican House campaign arm says it will begin soliciting cryptocurrency donations. And I got to tell you, I got to make the case that it seems like Republicans are really embracing crypto for some reason. You're going to see Emmer here. He's embracing it. You're going to see Sean Hannity. He was at one point changed his Twitter profile, was going to with the laser eyes. And then good old Ted Cruz came out and said that he believes cryptocurrency is a pretty good play, just to be careful. It's odd how that works out. Anyhow, so that's what we got. So Nick, let's start with this one, shall we?
Let's do it.
Just as a recap for everybody, and I know everybody's tired of this story. Here's what happened. Let me turn this down. So Iron Finance is the company behind the Titan token. So you got Iron Finance, the Titan token, and you also got the Iron stablecoin. So how the stablecoin works is it's pegged to the USDC, right? Which means about 75% of it, let me pull this up. Iron is 75% pegged to USDC, so it's pretty stable. The other quarter is pegged to Titan, and that is their main coin. So developers distribute Titan to liquidity providers, such as our guy, Marc Cuban. Staking allows liquidity providers to yield profits off of transactions. Marc Cuban was one of those guys. Cuban provides Titan and DAI to the platform. When somebody buys Titan with DAI, Cuban gets 100% of the transaction profits. So pretty profitable for him. The plunge took place over Titan reached $65 and then went to $60. Then all of a sudden, all these whales, and I think this is the big lesson. Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you got a bunch of whales holding a bunch of those tokens and they freak out and they start selling, it seems like there's a chain reaction and everybody sells like crazy. And that's, I think, what happened here.
That is definitely what sparked the fire. That's certainly kind of where people started noticing the issue is, so one, we all know that if a bunch of wallets, or I mean, if a few wallets hold a bunch of a specific cryptocurrency, then something is probably amiss, because they can just introduce a lot of supply into the market and basically crash the value. We all know supply and demand. So that is a big issue. And then as soon as they start selling, I'm sure a lot of people follow, whale alerts on Twitter, which is just, big wallet movements or wrecked, whatever it is, big trades getting washed. So whenever things like that happen, people are tracking big wallets, and they're creating automated systems to react to these wallet movements or these massive sells. And eventually, if you get an algorithmic kind of sell pattern happening, then it basically just pushes pushes price past a precipice, in which retail will then react and further cause price decay. So basically, whales hold a lot. Whales decide to sell a little bit. Algorithms pick this up, and then retail catches on and creates a forest fire of price selling. And so the interesting part about Titan is that in the relationship of Titan and iron, Titan makes up 25% of that peg. So what the developers did is they created a mechanism to just mint more Titan in case Titan ever decreased to the point where the iron peg was off of $1. So, and anyone knows, if you just keep offering stock and offering stock and offering stock, it's literally called the financial death spiral. I mean, this is finance 101. So a lot of people weren't looking at the tokenomics. A lot of whales held a lot of the coins. And then you just had the spark that lit the forest fire.
Isn't this the same thing going on with the US government? They just keep printing.
This is a little bit, people are catching on to bad tokenomics. Yes, they are.
Gotta tell you, man, the US dollar doesn't have the greatest tokenomics. Okay, so that answers that question. I got it. But I keep hearing the word rug pull, rug pull, rug pull. So I just want to differentiate a couple, just a thing. So stick with me, everybody. So what's a rug pull? And I kept hearing this. Even Cuban said I got rugged. So rug pull is a malicious maneuver in the crypto industry, where crypto developers abandon a project and run away with investors' funds. Malicious individuals create a token, list on a DEX, then pair with leading crypto like Ethereum. Once a significant amount of unsuspecting investors swap their ETH for the listed token, the creators then withdraw everything from the liquidity pool, driving the coin's price to essentially zero. So they just take everything out and they just run with it. And that's the developer side. To me, this looks like it's not so much the developer side. It seems like it's more like just people got, like what Nick was talking about. They get spooked. There were these bots. They came in there like, wow, people are selling. We got to get out. And then all of a sudden, then it was just and everything's gone. Nick, what do you think? Wrong there, right there, a little bit off?
So I think and no one's going to really like this answer, but we don't have all the information yet, unfortunately. So what you described, Rob, is 100% correct. It is not a traditional rug pull, but something does smell fishy in the sense that anyone who's been kind of in crypto in the olden days, back when, Silk Road was around and all of those dark web, markets or whatever were doing exit scams and getting everyone on and then ripping the money out and stuff like that. It just feels the way that the developers and the core team are communicating with the retail market. It does feel that there was nefarious, kind of actors behind. So you give maybe you have a partner and that whale is silent and anonymous, and he decides to just rip a bunch of liquidity because he wants to go to another project or run off to some country or whatever. And then, the developers are left kind of trying to deal with the windfall. So I don't think the developers were saying, hey, we're just going to steal everyone's money and just screw over Titan and Matic. But I do think that either A, something out of their hands happened, and B, a nefarious actor may have sparked this forest fire, or, a smart person bought up a bunch and just realized tokenomics were bad and say, hey, I'm going to light a match just because I'm rich and I want to watch the world burn. With bad tokenomics, things like that can happen. We've seen activist investors buy up stock and change whole companies. This is DeFi, it's a free market. So if things like that can even happen in the centralized market, then they're going to be exacerbated in a nascent DeFi market as well.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, I don't mean to laugh because I know there's people out there that lost a lot of money. It is sad. It is really sad. And it's one of the biggest advantages that you can have is just having money, because more money begets more money, unfortunately. And that's the way kind of like the world works. So Nick, I get two questions for you then. First of all, what do you think, because Cuban said he got out in time, right? So do you think first of all, that he did really get out in time? And second of all, do you think Iron Finance can come back? And I want to use the example of a sushi swap for, and just see, because remember what happened there, and now all of a sudden sushi's everywhere. So what do you think?
So the second one is really good. I think there's a lot more nuance to it. But the first question is I just think basic math and what we've seen from Marc Cuban, both his Twitter progression and what we've seen from his blog posts and interviews that he's done on Titan, is that he got in relatively early. So, I mean, his upside was probably quite high. So even if he felt some downside, it probably wasn't soul crushing. But we also know, and this is maybe his fault of his own, and maybe, could be why the attack happened, is Marc Cuban is 100% of a liquidity pool on a very new DeFi platform. Now, if I am a bad actor or anyone who knows anything about just navigating the internet, I might want to screw over Marc Cuban just to maybe laugh about it. This is just what people do on the internet. So he publicized that he's a massive liquidity provider. And then obviously price tanks 50%, rises 25, and then drops basically 100. So I would say that Marc got hurt. I would say that he's not 100% wiped out, but I don't think that he's probably playing it off a lot better than what had happened. So as any person who is on Shark Tank would as well, because I'm sure, Mr. Wonderful is probably in his DMs right now laughing at him. So,
you know what? Yeah. And one thing about, so great answer. I think it's the same thing. I think he probably got hurt. There's no way he got out unscathed. Nobody gets out unscathed in these situations, unless you're like you said, unless you're the first, unless you're the one to light that match. I bet you, Kevin O'Leary, I bet he's laughing right now going, you know what? Because he's been talking about DeFi and he uses these high caliber words about, well, to be a liquidity provider and to justify your positions and to actually get into this decentralized finance is a very complex thing. And volatility is good for your bank account, but not good for your stomach. And I know what he's doing. He's making things more complex than what they have to be, so he can actually go out there and create a product and go, trust me, come to me. I can make it easy. And I can do all these things for you. That's what Mr. Wonderful does. So if I was Mr. Wonderful, I would be harping on this day and night going, look, this is risky, but I can make it unrisky and I can make it easy with this new product called WonderFi or whatever he's going to call it.
He might hit you up for some licensing fees on that. That's a good idea. WonderFi. He's already in, crowdfunding and Reg A style investing and stuff like that too. He's got a platform. I watch Shark Tank sometimes. I catch the commercials, so I know what he's selling. But it could be. But I get to further answer your second question, which is, does this come back? No, I don't think this comes back. Sushi Swap was, we can dig into the nuts and bolts of Sushi Swap and Chef Nomi and all of that stuff, but this was literally the worst design of a product I've ever seen. I didn't trade the token. I didn't look into it too much. When something is catching fire purely for the whim of catching fire and doing crazy numbers, something is obviously up behind it. I didn't look too deep because I saw bad ending from the horizon. But when something goes to literally zero and the actors behind it are still unnamed, and no one comes to the defense of the market, and even Marc Cuban says, I got rugged and this is dead, blah, blah, blah. I don't think you come back from that. There's just no one willing to step up to the plate to do that. Maybe someone wants to buy the token at a trillionth of a cent, but why would you at this point with that kind of brand?
I see Kevin O'Leary coming in and going, Mark couldn't do it, but I can do it. Watch this.
Hey, I would watch them battling it out on an investment show for sure.
I would love to see Shark Tank DeFi edition. That'd be awesome.
That would be fun.
Yeah. So just so everybody knows, Marc Cuban's a pretty smart guy as far as like investing. This is what he would make. So he talks about how he provides two tokens, Titan and DAI. And this is what he did. He said, and this is from his blog post, this pair is one of many. You can also see based on the 25% of volume in the swap that QuickSwap pays my return on initial investment. And he said 75,000 is an annualized return of about 206%. So when we take a look at DeFi and DeFi farming, all the things he's doing, a 206% return for really doing nothing except for the risk is pretty darn good. And that's the whole point of the DeFi part. So Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Here is the website, iron.finance. It says total value locked, 238 million. I think it's actually true, but okay. And then, of course, the cost, the price right now, 74 cents for the stable token, which nothing. And then, of course, point blah, 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 blah for that. All right.
Minus 100%. If someone can find me another minus 100% token and put it on Twitter, I may have a prize for you. Please at me with another minus 100% token. I would love to get this train going of just the history of scam coins.
That would be great to show people. But again, and the last thing I'll say about this one is be careful. You know, when we talk about do your own research and everything else, take a look at the team behind the projects, take a look at the tokenomics, and just take a look and say, well, you know, there is a way to look at all these wallets. And me and Nick were talking about this before, about all the ones that are out there and who has the concentration. Like we know about Dogecoin, I know people are going to hate on me in the comment section, but it is what it is. There is a high concentration of Doge, like I'm from New York, Doge, in very few wallets. So just be careful on that one. That's all I'll say. If you want to invest into it and be a millionaire like some other people did, hey, it's your choice. This is investment opinion, not investment advice. All right. Let's jump over to the comments real quick and see how much hate I get for that one.
Oh, by the way, Solana just went live trading on Coinbase. So for anyone watching, I just got that update. So Solana, we might want to go check the Solana price just for fun.
Let's take a look. I'm curious myself. You know what I'm curious is how it increased over the day before there was an announcement. Because you know people, they know about it beforehand. Hey, everybody.
No big pop yet.
Down 2%. And on a listing, you know what that means. This is 24 hours. It was 38.
So it's down 2% on the day, but in the past, what, like 4 or 5 hours, it looks like it's up, a few percentage points.
This could be the time to jump in. Solana's a great project. I think.
Yeah, we're going to talk about ADA in a second, but Solana is also one of my other favorite L1 competitors who is also holding up very strong in terms of both BTC and USD value, as well as ADA. So I very much like Sol.
So if you don't have Coinbase, you can also let's take a look at the trading pairs real quick. Binance, Bitfinex, FTX, even Binance US.
FTX US as well. I always tell people FTX US is a little bit better than Binance US based on some of the, based on support alone.
A lot of them. How are the fees, Nick?
Comparative. They're basically the same.
We'll take it.
So, okay. But when I've never had a good experience with Binance US, and if it works for Binance US and wants to DM me and reach out and prove it to me, but myself as well as friends, they've had good experiences with FTX and not so much good experiences with Binance US.
Nick, how can they reach you, matter of fact?
At Nick Cini. So NickCini. Very, very easy Twitter. So Nick Cini.
At Nick Cini.
Yep, there you go.
You guys know. Bingo. All right, next piece. This is interesting. And as you know, on this show, I like to talk about Cardano. And everybody says, Rob, you're just a shill for Cardano. True. They say, I'm the king of the shills. That's really what it comes down to. But you have to understand something. It's that my first biggest bag is Bitcoin. My second biggest bag is Ethereum. I'm a huge proponent of Ethereum. I want it to work. I want it to do well. But I also want Cardano to do well. And I don't care which one makes it. I'm just an investor. There's no emotion in these things. It's just, I just want these things to prosper. And if I have to be the cheerleader for all of them, I'll do it. As long as the water comes into the harbor, lets all the boats rise, I'm happy. I'm tired of the maximalism. I'm tired of getting into all these fights and everything else. If you want to invest into grass coin, go ahead. That's great. So this is just one more piece in the puzzle of what's going on with just Cardano. So Cardano's Yoroi wallet is going to soon enable users to interact with dApps like Ethereum's MetaMask. So what's going on here? So Emergo, first of all, we don't know Emergo. You can go to this great website, again, King of the Shills, danteachescrypto.com. And then if you click on ADA staking, it goes through all our staking pools and everything else. And it talks about the three different arms of Cardano, Cardano.org, IOHK, and Emergo. Emergo is the enterprise arm of Cardano to boost the platform through commercial ventures, develops, supports, and incubates commercial opportunities, and helps integrate businesses into the decentralized blockchain system. So they're a pretty big player in the whole ecosystem of Cardano. So what they're doing, of course, they created Yoroi, but they successfully developed Yoroi in 2018, and they're working on the wall in preparation for the smart contracts era on Cardano, which should go live in August. And I'm actually pleasantly surprised that they're hitting all these milestones. Yoroi is a easy way of sending, receiving, and storing Cardano, and Ergo via mobile apps and browser extensions. And Ergo, if you don't know it, so they've created Ergo. I'm not going to go into this big time, but if you're looking at probably one that's overlooked, Ergo is another one because it's also part of that ecosystem. It's down on the day. It's ranked 145. And I think as the Cardano ecosystem starts to thrive, I think Ergo is going to start to thrive. And it's also potentially, let me see if it's here. This is what got me. It's not just the platform, toolbox of the crypto industry, NFTs, auctions, Oracle pools. So I don't know if it can be an Oracle, but a lot of people have been talking to me about it. And I think I need to do a little more research. Anyhow, not to get too much off. But in a tweet on today, Emergo tweeted this. It's an all-out effort getting ready for Cardano's highly anticipated Alonso hard fork. Read our update. Developers are working towards implementing the required changes to be ready for Cardano's smart contracts era. Just so you know, Yoroi is, you don't have to download the entire blockchain because if you use it with Daedalus like I do, you have to download the entire blockchain. It can take days sometimes. Yoroi, you don't have to do that. It's very light, and you can use that to what it's going to be used for is just for transactions for Cardano and Ergo in a very quick and light way. And then to finish this up, they state once smart contracts are integrated into Cardano's blockchain with the official Alonso hard fork, it will support the development of a wide variety of dApp services, including DeFi, NFTs, and the migration of projects from other blockchain platforms to Cardano. And through these updates, we envision that Yoroi wallet will be similar to the MetaMask wallet for Ethereum by enabling Yoroi wallet users to interact with a wide variety of dApps, blah, blah, blah. Nick, that's a long, drawn-out way of me to explain things. But what do you think about this whole, what they're doing? Do you think they can do the things that MetaMask has already done and actually catch up? Or do you think it's just they're kind of a little bit behind?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, this is just a plus for Cardano. So any news about how I interact with Cardano as an end user is good news for Cardano, because all of Cardano's detractors are saying, well, I can't use anything on Cardano yet, and I've been waiting. So the fact that we're getting closer, that there's tangible news, that there's physical use cases involved with the applications that we're talking about, this is all positive for Cardano. So I don't think this is immediately bullish news, but I think if you are a Cardano holder, this is what you've been waiting for. You're definitely telling all your friends about it. And you're probably marking on the calendar when it's going to drop. So I think this is good. I don't think the code is entirely difficult to copy in terms of what MetaMask has done. We've seen it for pretty much every other chain so far, has a kind of a smart wallet to interact with all the dApps. So I'm sure it will be functional. I'm sure it will be working. I just hope it is not delayed.
What do you think about, not to get off topic, what do you think about this ETH 2.0 delay? You think it stops it, or you think it really doesn't matter because EIP 1559 is coming in? That's going to reduce the gas fees. We're good.
So I think so in terms of how the market's looking, and we'll probably talk about this later in the show, but I believe that the crypto market is very much looking at things very similar to how they're looking at the centralized finance market, maybe a little bit quicker, maybe a little bit shorter term, but the market is definitely looking at least 12 months ahead. So, a full year. So if it's seeing delay, it was expecting basically ETH 2.0 to be done, full scalability to be reached at a certain time. That obviously is being pushed back. So ETH is now off the table in terms of being a savvy trade, in terms of being an on-time trade. Therefore, the market is saying, well, if they're going to delay 6 months, I'm going to delay my trade probably 3 to 6 months as well. So that was why my case is that Bitcoin is a better store of value investment trade, all three, in my opinion, throughout this, maybe the next month or so, due to Ethereum being delayed and Bitcoin still, everything chugging along in terms of the narrative. So that's just my opinion. And I also want to drop that MetaMask is now the Uber of crypto wallets. So like everyone is comparing everything to MetaMask, which, and ADA fans are going to be mad, but further solidifies ETH as being the mainstay in the market. If you are the comparison, you are the incumbent, you have to be beaten by everyone else. And to do that, you still have to be talked about all the time. So it's not like ETH is going to disappear. It's just less sexy in terms of a trade and an investment in the immediate term, because the big development has been delayed for 6 months at least.
Yeah. You know what? By you saying that, it reminds me of an old adage about the champ. If you want to beat the champ, you got to knock out the champ. You can't win by points. So it's the same type of thing here. So Nick, right now, first of all, are you more of an investor or more of a trader? Or you're
definitely
both?
more of an investor than I trade. I mean, I'm in that 75-25 camp. Whenever I reach a certain amount trading, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting a little bit too big for my britches. And then I transfer back into investing, because I am a long-term macro investor at heart. I love to look at the trends and I love to think about things in 6 to 12 months. But I'm also an analyst in my day job, and I track the markets to a very tight and a very acute degree, is what I should say. So, and then that's what forces me to trade. But the majority of my money, the majority of my time goes into figuring out what I'm going to do with my money for a 12-month span usually.
Well, let me ask you this then, before we move on. What do you think's where do you want to put your cash flow in the next 3 months or so, 6 months, and as far as crypto projects safely? Let's talk about safely first.
So safely, the safest thing to do, and something that is completely untradeable, but is very useful in terms of judging the strength of the crypto market in comparison to Bitcoin, is Bitcoin dominance. And if anyone who reads the Trade the Chain weekly newsletter, I've talked about Bitcoin dominance for the past 2 weeks in our Monday drop that we do for everybody. And I think it's one of the most important metrics, because understanding Bitcoin's strength when alts are obviously already weakened is very important to understanding where you want to put your money in the near term. So we all know that Bitcoin dominance has kind of been on a decline and will likely be on one in terms of the macro view until the bull cycle is over. But in the near term, Bitcoin dominance is currently rising and looks bullish, more bullish than it does bearish. So if I'm looking at that and I'm saying I'm looking at a 4 to 8 week span, Bitcoin is the safer investment. If I wanted to park my money somewhere. If you do believe Bitcoin is going to go down, then it's just better to be on the sidelines and maybe get in at a lower price. But if you do believe that this 35K-ish range is good for you, then Bitcoin is certainly the safer investment than Ethereum or another alt play, based on the narrative of Bitcoin being a store of value, Bitcoin and the Lindy effect, Bitcoin in El Salvador, Bitcoin and the potential decoupling from equities, the whole commodities aspect, so there's a lot more going for Bitcoin than there is another coin out on the market. And with dominance rising, I would rather hold the dominant coin, the one that pushes the others around when it's showing its strength, when it's flexing its muscles.
So you got Bitcoin. What else would be another safe one for you? And again, this is just investment opinion between me and Nick, not investment advice. Don't go out there and say, hey, kids, sell your bikes. We're selling my business. I'm going to put it on to Bitcoin. Now we're just saying these are the things that we look for as far as safety as investors. Nick, what else you got for a safe one potentially?
So a way to gauge strength, if you're like, I really want to get some alt exposure while they're down, I don't want to miss out on this dip just in case this is the bottom for altcoins. I would say the safest ones against Bitcoin right now, and even in USD value, is what I mentioned probably 5 to 10 minutes ago, is Cardano and Solana. And this is just strictly based on, when we know Bitcoin will push altcoins around and the rest of the market around, what is holding up the strongest during the push and pull, during the rising strength of Bitcoin flexing its muscles. Right now, pretty much the strongest 2 coins against Bitcoin that I'm tracking right now are Solana and Cardano. And that is in both Bitcoin value and in USD value. So if you wanted to really get in on something, I think they have the most going for it. Cardano is just, Hoskinson he's the Elon of crypto, more or less at this point. They've got a lot of updates coming. Solana is launching fund after fund after fund with partnership with this person and that VC and that private equity. So they're obviously trying to put Cardano, and they're trying to put physical value in developers' hands to continue to build up the market. And then obviously Hoskinson is doing his thing and keeping the Cardano army happy. So
Yeah, and he's doing a pretty good job, I think. So yeah, I can see
He's doing a good job.
Okay, real quick, tell me why do you like Solana so much? Because I know I've heard you on TTC talk about it as well. And for everybody who's big in the Solana, just put in the comments as well. Why is this the big one that actually people say it is what Ethereum and Cardano are promising to do? Is that true?
So, I mean, is it true? Verdict is still out, but obviously we're still in very much speculation mode until you show me the money. And Ethereum has been under the microscope so much because it isn't purely the show me the money phase, work or get out of my face. And a lot of people said get out of my face last month. So, but I think with Solana, and this is a bit of a deeper take that I have to credit to another individual in the space by the name of Packy McCormick, who writes a newsletter that I love by the name of Not Boring. And he wrote about Ethereum one day and mentioned the competitors, and he actually name dropped Solana, and it really got me thinking about this idea of working with or against Ethereum. Now, if you're working against the incumbent, then the incumbent is going to attack you, and it's truly going to be a war. We all know wars can get nasty, and there can be some serious bloodshed on either side. But when you court your competitor and you say, how can we work together and share market share and increase the community, the ecosystem together, they could say no and tell you to go F yourself, but they could also work with you, and you can work together to then defend and defeat the other people trying to compete with you, creating a cohort of chains of sorts. So what Solana is trying to do is what Ethereum promised to do over a multi-year span, or I should say 5 or 6 years at this point, but that's multi-chains. So it's just having your L1 layer do most of the work, then having your security layer, having your network layer, having your transaction layer. So Solana is just from the get-go promising to be the kind of the future state of what Ethereum has always promised to be. But what Solana is also trying to do is work with Ethereum developers and work with the Ethereum ecosystem to create easy bridges and create easy systems in which Solana can interact with Ethereum so that they don't have to compete and have to lose market share. It can truly be a choice of whatever is the most convenient at that point in time for you, in the future state, as long as ETH 2.0 is alive. So I don't want to knock Cardano, because I don't think Charles Hoskinson and the Cardano army are trying to start a war, but they are certainly not trying to work with Ethereum from the get-go. And that is what Solana is doing. So I think that's where the difference lies. It's two different approaches. They're obviously in the lead in comparison to ETH as the leading L1. So I think those are why those are the fundamentals and why I believe the strength is there.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I couldn't really grasp it, so that helps a lot. I think Solana could be those ones. And this is the same thing I'm talking about. You know what? If this one works and it can bring everything together, why not just use that one, right? It's just a business. The emotions hopefully can stay out of it. Nick?
Well, and that's the beauty of free market competition, is the consumer gets to decide what's easiest for them. I use an iPhone, someone else uses an Android, we still make calls. You know what I'm saying? That should be DeFi and blockchain, So we should be able to talk to each other from varying cell phones using similar infrastructure.
See, and exactly. This is what I always say. Like I always see Charles Hoskinson. It's kind of like Charles and Vitalik are kind of like the Bill Gates and the Steve Jobs of the day. I think they're gonna push each other to that edge, because you need that competitor to push you to the next level. And whether they agree with it or not, I think that's what it's going to be. And
who's Larry Ellison sailing in on his yacht that he told everyone how much it cost?
Yeah, exactly. Someone just coming in, Larry Ellison. Nice reference, Nick. Okay, so our last one, not to preclude anything, let's talk politics. And the reason I'm talking politics is because I want to talk about cryptocurrency. So like I talked about with the Ted Cruz snippet, if you're going to give me a thumbs down the video, do it because the video sucked and you learned absolutely nothing. Don't give me a thumbs down because you don't like a Republican or a Democrat or whatever else. This is not about that. This is just about what's going on in crypto. So I found this very interesting. The Republican House campaign arm says it will begin soliciting crypto donations. And just like I had talked about, it seems like the Republican Party are really embracing cryptocurrency. Like I talked about, Emmer here, he's been a big Bitcoin bull. I forgot the other senator for Wyoming who was in the Miami blockchain conference. She is a huge Bitcoin proponent. And then we saw, Ted Cruz talking about how great Bitcoin is. So here's another example. The NRCC, or the National Republican Congressional Committee, is proud to lead the charge in accepting cryptocurrency campaign contributions. Tom Emmer from Minnesota. That's the guy right there, the group's chair. We're focusing on pursuing every avenue possible to further our mission of stopping Nancy Pelosi's socialist agenda and retaking the House majority. And this innovative technology will help provide Republicans the resources we have to succeed. So again, before I go on, I don't want to, in the comments, that is his opinion. That's not my opinion. That's just what Tom Emmer said. I just said it, actually I shouldn't have said it, let's be honest. But don't give a thumbs down because you don't like Pelosi or him or whatever else. The big thing that I see with politics is that, first of all, they're all full of it. Could we just admit that? Politicians, there's no really like super honest politicians. Whatever the one side says, the other one takes the exact opposite stance. So if you're going to see like a Democrat going, you know what, Elizabeth Warren said, we really need to crack down on cryptocurrency. Then all of a sudden the other side's like, you know what we should do? We should really get into cryptocurrency. I don't care what it is. I'm just happy that one of the sides is talking about it positively. So on top of that, this is what Emmer says. The NRC said it will process crypto contributions using the payment service BitPay. Those donations will then be converted into US dollars before actually being transferred in the group's bank account. Interesting. That process will allow this is fascinating to me. The process will allow the group to effectively bypass the Federal Election Commission's $100 cap on transfers of crypto and accept donations of up to 10 grand per year from an individual. So like, hey, we're not taking crypto, we're transferring over so we can take more money. So I guess that is a positive, I should say. Who knows? Emmer's House Campaign Committee, for example, accepted donations last year, as well as Yang Gang, Andrew Yang. And then the last part here doesn't make any sense to me, and this is why I'm going to talk to Nick. The proliferation of cryptocurrencies in recent years has emerged as a particular challenge for the FEC. Cryptocurrencies promise users more privacy. Yeah, I mean, if you're using like Monero or like Zcash, as well as freedom from central banks, that part is true. That the FEC worries will conflict with the transparency and disclosure laws surrounding campaign finances. This is just like the same type of thing we talked about as far as like illicit activities and mafioso ties, just on a watered down version. Them saying, oh, they're going to bypass all these things, whatever else. Nick, what do you think about this? Is this good news, or is this just a little bit of mediocre mixed with FUD?
Well, as you know, as someone who is more of a crypto maximalist than a minimalist, adoption in any form is a good sign. I have to say that. So the fact that that they're working with a company to accept campaign contributions, I doubt that Democrats will say that this is stupid and they're not going to do it too. So I think they're obviously leading the trend. I think the real reason that they're doing it now and obviously publicizing it is, hey, we can go 10K now. We don't have to go 100. Send me more money and do it in crypto. So there's always a reason underlying why politicians are in the news. But I think the fact that crypto is becoming something that is mainstream enough to make a campaign contribution for, and is in the news that the people who make our laws and deal with, unfortunately, the structure of the operations of the nation are taking a kind look to crypto. I can't see it as a bad thing. So that's how I'll say it.
I can't see it as a bad thing too. I do find it interesting though that you can only donate $100 worth of crypto, but you can donate $10,000.
And I find that that last paragraph, what I thought was weird is that they were like, there's going to be challenges in dealing with it for campaign contributions, but if you can only donate 100, but then I thought I could be Nick Mancini with a VPN and then just donate $100 worth of crypto from a million different wallets, starting with, $1 million. And I guess, they came from random people, anonymous people. So I guess they could say that, but if they're going to convert it from someone on the spot, then they're definitely going to be KYCing. So, I think the whole $10,000 cap actually creates something to where there is transparency to who is donating. But hearing that the $100 thing, I mean, I know how to exploit the crypto market, and that's how I would do it if I wanted to send a bad type of money transaction. So I can see their problem with that, certainly.
See,
and it's better to work with a good company to do more caps with KYC than it is to have this loophole, though. So I see that as a good thing as well.
See, this is why if you're looking to book somebody on your podcast or to get some information, you should go find out Nick Mancini here and book him on there. Great answer, Nick. I like that one. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then finally, let's take a, first of all, let's go to the chats. I think I have missed a couple of things here. Let me share this. What is this? Centtoken.com. Nick, you want to talk about this real quick before we get to it?
Yes, I can lightly touch on Cent Token, which is the governance token of Trade the Chain, which is not only a institutional grade product for finding signals and market information, as well as bespoke sentiment data you won't find anywhere else. It's also a community of a few thousand traders who literally kick butt every day in the markets and talk about everything from DeFi to centralized finance and trade and learn every day. So Cent Token is, rumor has it that it's launched on a few exchanges in the future, one maybe this week, and looking for some crazy stuff going on with Cent maybe in the future.
First of all, Cent, yeah, Cent, I think it was going for 0.02, almost 3 cents. And I think there's a listing coming up on Bitcoin.com. I know that's happening. I know there's some other ones, but I can't say them. So if you're looking for the token itself, I did a video yesterday about MetaMask. You can check that out. And then also, just so you know, for Trade the Chain, sentiment analysis, they scour the interwebs. They're one of 5 cryptocurrency companies have a direct API into Twitter to see like what's going on. If you're looking for like something to do your own research on in the next hour or so, look at Vertcoin, Grin, Gollum, Wink, and I don't know what this is, Dodo, and Decentraland. And this middle part right here, 3%, 1.9, 1.8, 1.4, with a 90% assurance, that's what the price could potentially go into, to fluctuate between 6% and 4%. Not to beat a dead horse. Now, let's take a look at what we got in the chats. My friend, Nutsax909, that's a good one. He is a college professor. No, I'm just kidding. He asks, what do you think about Casper? I don't know anything about Casper, but let's take a look here.
Yeah, let's take a look. I'll look it up while you look it up as well.
I got it right here. Casper Network, I believe is what he's talking about. So 27 cents, up 7% for the day. Let's see, 500. And if you're looking for things, you can always look at CoinGecko, or if you got a Trade the Chain membership, you can take a look there where things are going. Circulating supply, 592 million out of 10 billion. Oof, I don't know about that. Not good. I never like coins that have a ton of them. I just don't. Let's see what it is.
It's never a good sign when you're like minting more than 1 billion off the bat, but it can be appropriate.
It can be if you're really ambitious and trying to change the entire world. Casper is the government's token of Casper Network. Role of Casper is validators needed to pay for any transaction, serve as a medium of exchange between network participants. What makes Casper different? Developer friendly. All right. User friendly. Permissionless but flexible, upgradable. There's a growing network of companies. L2 project focused on creation of decentralized autonomous companies. Troubled by the high fees of Ethereum. That's positive. I'm going to just.
Oh, is this an offshoot of Casper Labs?
Maybe.
It is, I believe so. Okay.
Here's okay. So here's the website. If we're looking at Casper Labs. Decline. Don't know. Looks good. But
so my guess is, and this is pure speculation because I've obviously not looked deep into the tokenomics, but it would appear that they had a lot of VC and private equity backers due to what I understand about Casper Labs, and obviously just looking at their website. And so they've likely created Casper token to operate the network, but created a massive liquidity event for not only the founders, but the investors, which explains the just absolutely absurd price drop in the beginning. So it found its price floor after the team took liquidity, which is probably why the market didn't like it too much for the first week or so. So looks like it's finding its bottom. Price action doesn't look super bullish, but it definitely looks more bullish than bearish is my opinion on price action.
Well, there you go. There's your answer. Positive for that. Long term, not for sure. I'm just an investor, not much of a trader. That hopefully answered your question. Alex Mascioli, somewhere in the chats. Thank you, Alex, for hooking me up here. He asks, tomato coin or cent token? Well, first of all, Tomato Coin, I'm going to make this announcement here. Hopefully by the end of this month, everybody who is in the DNU stake pool is going to receive a limited amount of Tomato tokens, which have been minted on the Cardano blockchain, which will be airdropped to, again, all DNU's Cardano stakeholders, hopefully by the end of this month. So that is Tomato Coin. But I've also heard that the Cent token, people who are signed up for Trade the Chain as members are also going to get an airdrop of the Cent token. So I believe there's more information coming. There's going to be a KYC type of part on the website, and everybody can look up there. So be on the lookout for that. And then Nutsack says, yes, Casper Lab. Excellent. Okay.
Yep. Expect Cent airdrop info to come out this week or early next.
Nice. Nutsack, yes, Casper Lab. William Reich, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Do your own research on Burn One coin. Burn One today, cannabis advocacy coin. Well, that sounds pretty good. I'll take a look. Look, marijuana is great. When I was working on the hospitals, especially when I was in oncology, the doctors would always tell, this was a while ago, we would say, hey, if you're on pain medications, you can take only so much to ease some of those burdens. Marijuana is probably a good option. I've had many patients on them, and it works out pretty great. I have nothing against marijuana. I hope it will be legalized in all states. In my great state of Texas, probably the last one. What are you going to do? And that's it.
You can always come up and visit in Colorado, Rob.
I know. My niece is up there. I do like Colorado. It's a great place.
Beautiful.
Nick, before we take off, there's something else you want to talk about. Equities and something big going on?
Yeah, so I just wanted to quickly just, come off the heels of the Fed meeting yesterday, otherwise known as the FOMC, as you might have seen it on the airwaves. And just give everyone just kind of an update into why price action is just so weird right now and why everyone cared and was probably watching Fox Business and CNBC all day yesterday. So if you haven't been paying attention, obviously the Fed has, introduced a lot of money or a lot of M2 money supply into the ecosystem through repos, through, basically handing money to governors, through loans to banks and things like that. So we're not going to get into all that. But the deal has been, why are you putting so much money into the system? Why are interest rates so low? Interest rates are 0%. And why are you buying basically more than 9 figures, 12 figures worth of treasuries a month? They're buying, I think it's actually might be 13 figures of treasuries per month. So it's crazy. Yeah. And everyone's saying, and increase rates, or at least tell us you're going to increase rates and stop buying so many treasuries so that you're not the only one supporting that entire market. So basically what they said is that they were thinking about doing something in the future. And what they're thinking about doing is what I just said, raising rates and tapering, as it's called, treasury purchases, which means decreasing treasury purchases. So they basically had what is called a hawkish signal. Dovish would be, we're going to keep pumping money. We're going to keep everything open and free. Hawkish is more, we're going to bring things a little bit under control. And this is because inflation is the big thing in the market. And if you're in the Trade the Chain community, thank you for voting on our inflation poll that we had the other day. That was really good. People are bullish on Bitcoin if inflation stays high. And so basically the Fed said, we're gonna continue to let inflation run a little hot, but we're gonna think about doing the things that we need to do to bring back inflation within the next 18 months, which is quite a long time.
It is a long time. 18 months.
So exactly, 18 months is a very long time. You've heard people like Paul Tudor Jones say it needs to be early 2022. You've heard people say it needs to be longer, shorter. So obviously the market is very much in argument about what it needs to be, but they are in agreement that 18 months is probably a little bit too long. So what we saw now is the dollar just increased. And this is mainly because they said that they were going to do something. So it's an immediate market reaction. We will see if this sticks. But what is currently happening in the reaction to Jerome Powell saying they're thinking about doing something in the future is that the dollar increases, which means that our money is going to be a little bit strengthened, which means that equities and commodities are weaker in comparison to the dollar. Because if I can buy more with a dollar, then that those high equities, those high commodity prices are worth a little bit less in the context of USD. This is Forex. People in crypto should kind of get this since you trade out of Bitcoin a lot anyway. So since commodities and equities are weaker and the dollar is stronger, We also had a bond pop because people are offloading bonds to probably load into the dollar, because you never see the dollar move in terms of multiple tenths of a percent. So, and in reaction to a stronger dollar, commodities and equities are weakened. And Alex Mascioli has said this, that he's, we do not want commodity or equities to continue to get weak. So the goal is that the dollar gets a little bit weaker, equities recover a little bit, and that Bitcoin eventually starts to break away from equities, and maybe equities go flat and maybe Bitcoin goes up. If equities and Bitcoin stay together, it's going to be very interesting next 6 months. But if Bitcoin can break away from equities, then I think we're going to have a beautiful, luscious, amazing next 6 months if we can get over this hump. So I wanted to let everyone know that dollar is a little bit stronger. Your Big Mac's not going to be immediately less expensive, but you can definitely buy more commodities with the dollar in your pocket, meaning you can buy more Bitcoin. And just be careful with trading out there, and look for probably mid 30s bottom, as Alex Mascioli and the Market Rebellion crew were talking about on TTC earlier today. So wanted to give everyone a Fed update, because not everyone goes into how crypto is tagging along with macroeconomics right now, and they're becoming a lot more intertwined. So the Fed meeting is much more important than it was a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
That is amazing. And I think it's to see how this all plays out. Like you said, if we can decouple from equities and we can just say, okay, we're not going to just follow along with that same trend, and Bitcoin breaks away, it could do great. Because Alex is always talking about to me too. He's like, look, if we have a problem with the equities market and everything just kind of falls flat, he goes, that's what's going to happen also with crypto. So if we can do that, fantastic. Because I worry about these things sometimes, but it is good to know, to see the whole story, how it all works together. Nick, thank you so much for coming on. And before we go, a couple of things. Let me just let you know that if you're looking to book Nick or get him on any kind of your podcast or shows or something like that, just you can find him always on Twitter at Nick Cini. Pretty easy to find right there. And then before we take off, Nick, you already dropped some great information. But any type of words of wisdom you got for people in the crypto market and traders or investors moving forward?
Thank you very much, for the kind words and for the shout out. Please do hit me up on Twitter. I'm very active. I'm dropping Bitcoin and Ethereum data almost hourly on there. So thank you very much for that. And I'd say the biggest wisdom that I believe right now is that the two biggest things that I'm seeing kind of run the market right now is 100% sentiment. Is you can literally see in terms of Twitter reactions and the way that people are reacting to headlines real time, the way that things are running. And this is even happening in the centralized market. And I think it would do, maybe TTC some service to maybe experiment with that in the future too, because sentiment is red hot with the retail market the way it is. And I think if you're not tracking sentiment, you're probably missing out on a good portion of market data that no one else is looking at. So that's my big thing. Number two is watch Bitcoin dominance. If you're tracking one chart, at least once a day, check Bitcoin dominance out, because it's going to tell you a lot about how Bitcoin is going to push everything else around. And if you know how Bitcoin is going to push things around, then you are smarter than your neighbor, more than likely. So sentiment, Bitcoin dominance, check it out, and you're probably going to be a better trader for it.
Excellent. All right, everybody. That's it. We covered a lot of stuff, Nick. We've been here an hour. Can you believe that?
It was fun. I had a lot of fun. I hope the audience did as well. If you did, throw a +1 in the chat. We'd love to know if any of this was helpful or if we were just talking the whole time.
Yeah, I think we're good. All right. So everybody, if you like the video, not the political stuff, everything else, give us a thumbs up. That would really help. Also consider subscribing. A lot of things we talk about are very time sensitive. What Nick was just talking about as far as the dollar and everything else. Over on Dan Clips, we do other stories, which are the advancements in the cryptocurrency market and different projects. I'm about to head off. I'm going to have an interview with Aaron McDonald from Silo, which to me is a super app. And I'll be doing a coverage over that in the next 15 minutes or so. So Nick, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.